What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. Sorry I'm a week late on this one. New comic book day starts tomorrow. Sometimes if I'm a little bit late, I'm like, you know what? I'll just record it Monday. It'll kind of get people a little bit refreshed on what's been going on, and then we'll get to talk about new comics tomorrow, which, by the way, there's going to be a bunch of videos coming out between tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll have a quick after the movie on the new Halloween Ends thing. That won't be the big written review, but it'll just be kind of something in case anyone else who's following the channel is curious about that. Lots of stuff coming up this week, so it should be fun. So let's start out by talking about Dark Crisis, The Deadly Green, issue number 1. Now, with the main Dark Crisis storyline, I have personally kind of with it. I mean, I feel like it should be a lot better than what it is right now. This is a crisis. This should be something big, but it feels kind of small in scope, and it doesn't feel like there's any real big lasting consequences. It just feels like another event. You probably should have just called it something else other than just Dark Crisis. It feels so small in scope, and then they've already announced the next batch of different things, like we have Lazarus Planet and all that, so Dark Crisis is just going to kind of come and go. It doesn't feel like it's really doing much with the rest of the lot per se. So yeah, and this one in general, I didn't really care too much for this particular one shot. This is Dark Crisis, The Deadly Green. So they go in trying to find the Great Darkness here. We have various different characters like Alan Scott, like his kids, Nightwing, John Kent, Yara Flora, Dr. Fate, Raven, Constantine, Swamp Thing, and they decide to go into his ring to link to the Great Darkness or whatever, however this thing works. And so they send in Constantine, they send in John Kent, they send in the Swamp Things, I guess, and they also send in Raven. Now, keep in mind, they're dealing with magic of sorts. Why the hell would you send in the most inexperienced member of John Kent there when literally Dr. Fate is standing right over there? And you know what happens? Like, his powers become weakened and such within this whole Great Darkness area. So it doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you send in Dr. Fate? He's dealt with magic more. Raven's more experienced more. Why is John even here? Shouldn't he be out, like, fighting bad guys or something with this whole crisis event here? And then what do the others just do? They're just there to stand around, like Yara Flora and all that. Why are they even here if they're not going to really do anything? Nightwing's here. I just don't understand. Yeah, John is the current Superman, which I still don't like that decision. Oh, man, aging up John Kent was like the dumbest decision DC's made in the past 5 years, and they just won't go back on it now, and that's the unfortunate thing. They could just fix it all by just saying this is some sort of clone, but they just won't do it. They won't do it now. But anyways, they go on this thing, and the only plus side really for this issue is Raven gets some focus here. They explain her name too, which I don't think that's how it was before. I don't know. The DC changes origins and retcons things all the time, but at least Raven gets a showcase here. John and Swamp Thing are like getting really angry and moody. I guess they get possessed by Great Darkness or something like that. Constantine ends up somewhere else, and you can just end up talking to like a shape-shifting demon of sorts. Even the identity is kind of like, after reading again, it's just like kind of vague because like it transforms into different things, Trigon and all sorts of other things. John at one point gets kind of corrupted by this thing, and then they try to lash out at Raven, and same with Swamp Thing and all that, but Raven kind of overpowers them and such. Now, why they didn't send in Dr. Fate is beyond me, because he is accustomed to dealing with magic, and Raven's there. And even then, John's kind of in a weakened state throughout this whole thing. But yeah, let's take your big gun off the table, even though he's got like super strength and all that, and send him into this thing, even though he's the least experienced out of everybody else. So I just don't get the decision making behind that. John doesn't have to be in every single one of these Dark Crisis things. So yeah, I'm kind of complaining about it. But at some point, Raven at least gets to showcase her power, which is pretty cool, I guess. And then they come to the conclusion, or afterwards, John and Swamp Thing, they kind of fuse together and such, and become like a Superman Swamp Thing-esque fusion, and they pull into like the Great Darkness or whatever and find Pariah's machine. And then they come to the conclusion that the Great Darkness isn't controlling Pariah. Pariah is manipulating the Great Darkness. So that's the big revelation. They find this machine. I think it was a machine from the original like Crisis on Infinite Earths, which I can't remember much about, if it was like destroyed or not, but you tell me. Yeah, so then it kind of leads into the next thing. I still don't like the idea that Pariah is the one controlling the Great Darkness and manipulating it. I just don't see how that kind of works. Didn't we see him before where he was kind of like manipulated into something like in the Road to Dark Crisis? I don't fully know what's really going on with this thing. And at this point, I'm just kind of waiting for Dark Crisis to be over. There's been no real lasting stakes of it all. I don't feel the weight of it in any way, shape, or form. The artwork in this one, it kind of switches to various artists. Like Arambi was on the writing, there was someone else on the writing too. But like the art style kind of changes between the different pages, and it doesn't fully mesh as well as it could have. The only strong suit of this issue for me is just kind of Raven getting a bit of a showcasing. That's because, I mean, I just love Raven. Raven's just the coolest. So, other than that, it just not much else for me in terms of this storyline. It just didn't go much or really anywhere for me. And but yeah, we get the realization of the whole like Pariah is the one really controlling things the whole time. So yeah, that's a thing, I guess. And I still don't get why why he's even Yara Flora of all the heroes there too. They just don't do anything. Dr. Fate is dealing with magic. Why isn't he in there? And Nightwing, he's just kind of sitting there too. He has experience with magic. Why doesn't he go in the ring? It just raises too many questions with the way the storyline was plotted out. But the cover looks cool. I'll give it that. But other than that, I just didn't particularly care for this little issue. All things said and done. So yeah, that's those are my thoughts on this issue. I didn't really quite care for it all that much. So yeah, not a really big high recommendation for me. But if you liked it, let me know in the comment section down below. Coming tomorrow, there will be more Dark Crisis related videos. I think there's the Worlds Without a Justice League Green Arrow, even though they're already kind of like out of the whole dream state. Why the release schedule for it doesn't really add up so much. They could have released all those issues already before they got out of it, in like the most recent issue of Dark Crisis, but for whatever reason we're just like, well, we had the issues, we just didn't plot the scheduling quite as well. And then what is it, Batman versus Robin, Batgirls is another one I got to talk about. I think Urban Legends has a new issue, and then I think there's a few other things. I think Batman Incorporated starts up too, so I'll probably have to check that out at some point. And they also did like a Joker like sequel series to that Joker book, so I need to check that out. I think that came out last week, but I don't know if I really want to review that one, because I mean, I reviewed all of Joker, and by the time that series kind of ended, I just kind of was like, it's something. So, but look forward to stuff. Batman vs. Robin will be the big comic book review to come out tomorrow, and then a few other things and such. So look forward to all that. And yeah, another week of DC comic stuff. Going to be a lot of videos tomorrow, but it should be fun, hopefully, right? Let's hope. Okay, well, I think that's all I have to say. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.